So the National Center for Public Policy Research is a conservative think tank that's been around since 1982, and one of our unique projects is the Free Enterprise Project. So just stepping back for a second, about 12 years ago now, we took a look at the landscape of corporate America, and we were really concerned with these large corporations starting to move in lockstep with the political left on an array of issues. And at that time, it fell under this banner of CSR, corporate social responsibility. These days, it flies under the banner of ESG, that's environmental, social, and corporate governance. What that really means is whatever the policy left is trying to get out of corporate America. And so what we did is we looked at that landscape and said, how is this happening? And we found this little unused tool called shareholder activism. And so what the left was doing is they were buying up small percentages of shares in large publicly traded companies in the United States and slowly integrating their policy preferences through shareholder advocacy into business decision making. And so that's how we've gotten corporate America to the point where it's just woke on just about every single environmental, social, and governance issue. So we just did the same thing. We have a stock portfolio of a lot of the S&P 500 where we engage from a right of center perspective. I like to think that we kind of provide the balance in the room in that sense. To attend a shareholder meeting of a publicly traded company, you need to own a whopping one share of that company, right? So if you're upset at Coca-Cola for an action they've taken, I think it's like $58 these days buys you admission to the shareholder meeting. And so again, we didn't actually realize when we started this the power that these moments can have, but it was about 11 years ago now, I went to my first ever Apple shareholder meeting. And I confronted CEO Tim Cook over some of the green spending that they were engaged in. And I was just curious, at that point in time, was there the same return on investment with their other products that they were seeing in their green campaigns, which I would consider greenwashing anyway? And he lost his mind. He told me that he wanted me to sell the stock, and anybody who thinks like me should sell the stock, that he doesn't want people like me investing in the company. Now that has since become the Tim Cook moment. Whenever a CEO blows up at a shareholder at an annual meeting, the press often labels that the Tim Cook moment. There's 12 college textbooks that teach this as to how not to engage with your investors. A few years ago, I attended the annual shareholder meeting of Disney when Bob Iger was still the chief executive officer over there. Hollywood Reporter for numerous years in a row had listed him as the most powerful man in Hollywood, right? Well, 3 weeks before the shareholder meeting, there was an episode of this television show called The View. Now, I find The View wildly offensive, but some people find it entertaining. Now, Joy Behar had gone on this rant against then Vice President Mike Pence and said this nut job was, quote, mentally ill. Now, why did she say that? She said because this lunatic, in her words, claims he talks to God, which all Christians do in prayer, of course. So, the religious community went nuts on, Facebook and Twitter, all of these, angry tweets and Facebook posts, blog posts. I just went to the shareholder meeting as a Disney investor, and I just simply raised my hand. And I said, Mr. Iger, why would this be okay for one of your highest paid ABC personalities to go on air and offend the Christian community with impunity? I said, Justin, I want to stop you right there. I said, I was offended by what Joy said too. So you should know we had her call Vice President Pence and apologize, which was not public at the time. I said, well, that's fantastic, Mr. Iger, but her sin was public. Maybe her apology should be too. After refusing for 3 weeks to apologize publicly, 4 days after that shareholder meeting, she opened The View with an apology to every Christian she had offended. Just by showing up and asking a simple question, you can change the course of events. If you get your moral compass from Disney, it's broken. Your compass is broken, go fix it. And it just shows the hypocrisy level too, right? We've got, you can go outside of Disney. We had the Genocide Olympics over in Beijing. Who sponsored that? Coca-Cola, Visa, Airbnb. Airbnb, who kicks out conservatives from using its platform, by the way, and all of these companies moralize to America. Right? They moralize about Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, all sorts of LGBTQ issues, the big transgender push, even amongst male athletes now crushing female athletes in sports. They're all on that arc of moralizing to Americans, and they stay silent in the face of actual human rights abuses. And in that way, they're useful idiots for the CCP.